Good evening. Today we are continuing learning the biblical Hebrew language. This is continuation of the first Hebrew primer. We are in chapter 6 on page 39, nouns and verbs that are plural. So far we have covered the nouns and verbs that are singular male and singular female, and we will review them in the oral review, and then we will learn about how to make a plural noun and a plural verb. Now I will start with the first paragraph. We will read and translate. Hu halach, he went. He halacha el Yerushalayim, she went to Jerusalem. Ha'isha mimitzrayim halacha el Yerushalayim, the woman from Egypt went to Jerusalem. Habat mimitzrayim halacha vehi zachra, the girl or the daughter from Egypt went and she remembered. Second paragraph on page 39. Hamishpacha zachra davar, the family remembered a thing. Hamishpacha shamra davar, the family guarded a thing or a word. He zachra davar, she remembered a word. Hamishpacha zachra vehi shamra, the family remembered and it guarded. Now we go to paragraph 3 on page 39. Shama ha'ish davar, the man heard a word. Shama ha'ish el ha'av, the man listened to the father. Shama ha'ish el ha'av mimitzrayim, the man listened to the father from Egypt. Shama ish el ha'av mimitzrayim v'hu halach, a man listened to the father from Egypt and he went. Now we go to paragraph 4 of oral review on page 39. Sarah amda v'Ruth shamra davar, Sarah stood and Ruth guarded a thing. Habat mimitzrayim amda v'haben mirushalayim shamar, the daughter from Egypt stood and the son from Yerushalayim guarded. Habat mimitzrayim amda v'hi shamra, the daughter from Egypt stood and she guarded. Haben mirushalayim amad v'hu malach, the son from Jerusalem stood and he ruled. Now one point I want you to pay attention to is the word mirushalayim, from Jerusalem, is read mirushalayim, not me Yerushalayim. If you notice, Yud does not have any vowels, and so therefore it is a silent letter. It serves as E of the previous letter. Mi Rushalayim, not mi Yerushalayim. Mirushalayim. Okay, now we go to paragraph 5 of page 39. David malach mi Mitzrayim. David ruled from Egypt. David malach mi Mitzrayim, veha'av malach mi Yerushalayim. David ruled from Egypt, and the father ruled from Jerusalem. David malach mi Mitzrayim, v'hu halach el Yerushalayim. David ruled from Egypt, and he went to Jerusalem. Hu halach el Yerushalayim, v'hu shamar ish. He went to Jerusalem, and he guarded a man. Now we turn to page 40, and we start learning new things in chapter 6. First, as usual, we cover some new words. And the new vocabulary on page 40, I'm going to start with the right column. Ah is a masculine word, means a brother. Vocabulary on page 40, for those who just joined. Eretz, land, country, and it's a feminine word. Eretz, land or country. Derech, a road or a way, and it can be both feminine and masculine. This is an unusual word that can be sometimes masculine and sometimes feminine. Derech, a path, a road, a way. Hem, they. Hema, also they, and both are masculine. Similarly, you have a feminine pronoun, henna or hen. The word hen is not written for some reason, but just like you have hem with a mem at the end, it means they, masculine. So too hen with the final nun at the end means they, feminine. Or hema and henna. The next word, har. Har means a mountain or a hill. Har, like Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. Next is Yom, day, and that is masculine. Now, second column on page 40, vocabulary. Moav, that's the name of a country, Moab, or in Torah we also have a boy whose name was Moab. Later country was named after him that he started. Next word, Eved. Eved means a slave or a servant. Eved. Now we have a verb, avar, root of which is ein vet resh, avar, crossed over or passed. Ir, a city, and that's a feminine word. Am, a people or a nation, and that's a masculine word. Next we have a verb, shalach, shin lamed chet, to send or sent. He sent, shalach. And the last word, sham. Sham means there, over there. Okay, now some details about these words. The noun derech may be either masculine or feminine. Yom means day, but the word hayom means either the day, a specific day, or today, because we specify the day, which means today. So hayom can either mean hayom, the day, or hayom, today. Now, when hey is attached to eretz, it becomes haaretz, meaning the land. So you notice that the vowels change. Instead of eretz, it becomes aretz. Ha-aretz, the land. Some pronouns have two forms. Both forms have the same meaning and are interchangeable. For example, hem and hema for men, and hen and henna for women. Both mean the same thing. Now, plural nouns. We compare English language with Hebrew. English nouns are often made plural by adding the ending s or es to the singular form. Book becomes plural by adding s, books. Wish becomes plural by adding es, wishes. Hebrew nouns are made plural by adding endings to the singular form, just like in English. However, there are different forms for feminine and masculine. The vowels of the noun also often change when the plural ending is added. So we'll start with masculine plurals. Masculine nouns are usually made plural by adding the ending im. Melech, melachim, by adding yud and mem at the end of the word, and the vowels often also change. Melech, melachim. The chaf changes its form because it used to be the end letter, now it is the middle letter. Melech, melachim, king, kings. Davar, devarim, a word or a thing, and words and things. Davar, devarim. Now on page 41 we learn about forming feminine plurals. Feminine nouns are usually made plural by adding the ending vav and taf. Ot. So we are on page 41. Page 41 is speaking about forming feminine plurals. Feminine nouns are usually made plural by adding vav and then taf, and it's pronounced ot. For example, and again, just like by masculine, the vowels of the root change. Eretz, and in plural it becomes aratzot. Eretz, aratzot. So because the vowels change, it is difficult to make a new plural word by yourself. You need some experience, and the easiest way is to actually memorize the words or see how they're used. If you're given a singular word at the beginning, it may be difficult until you learn and you get hang of how to change vowels in a plural word. So let's see some examples. First of a note, feminine nouns like mishpaha that end with a hey and the sound ah always lose the letter hey when the feminine plural ot is attached. So instead of saying mishpahaot, you say mishpahot. The hey is lost. So mishpaha becomes mishpahot. Behema, an animal, becomes behemot. Instead of behemaot, behemot. Okay, feminine nouns ending in taf often lose the letter taf when the feminine plural ot is attached. Okay, now we will first cover the regular masculine nouns. Ah, a brother, becomes ahim. brothers. Achim. And you see it's a slight change, but the kamatz vowel under aleph changes to a patach vowel. Ben, a son, changes to banim, sons, and vowels change as well. Davar, a word, devarim, words. Har, mountain, harim, mountains. Yom, a day, yamim, days. Melech, a king, melachim, kings. Na'ar, young man, ne'arim, young men, plural. Eved, servant, avadim, servants. People or nation, amim, peoples or nations. And next we cover some feminine nouns that are more or less regular. Eretz, land. Aratzot, lands. Behema, behemot. Mishpacha, mishpachot. Na'ara, ne'arot. And we turn to page 42, and we have some irregular plural nouns when not only we add the plural ending, but we change the word in other ways. For example, ish, a man. And plural, we don't say ishim, although such a form does appear in Tanakh sometimes, but the more common plural for a man is anashim, which comes from a different Hebrew word, enosh. Enosh also means a human, enosh, anashim. But we don't commonly use the word enosh. It is used in Tanakh a few times, but the more common singular word is ish. And the plural, you have to remember, is anashim. And similarly, isha, a woman, we don't say ishot, but rather we change the word and we say nashim. Isha, a woman. Nashim, women. Bayit, and we said that even though the word bayit ends with a taf, but it is not a feminine word, it is a masculine word, and therefore it is batim, a masculine ending. Bat, a daughter, and instead of saying batot, we change the word and we say banot, similar to ben. We have ben, banim, and for a daughter, for plural, we take the root ben and we put a feminine ending ot, banot. And some point out that the original word actually had a nun in it, benat. So the nun is omitted, but in plural it's preserved. So never made as let's just forget about what I said. That is more advanced. Just remember that bat changes to banot. Masculine nouns sometimes take the feminine plural ending ot, and feminine nouns sometimes take the masculine plural ending im. For example, av is a masculine noun, means a father, and plural fathers is avot, surprisingly, not avim, avot, av, avot, arba avot, shlosha avot, arba imahot. Ir, which is feminine, instead of saying arot, we say arim. So again, Av, Avot, Ir, Arim. But just because you see Arim doesn't mean that it's a masculine word. It's a feminine word with an unusual masculine ending. And the same for Av, Avot, even though Avot sounds like feminine, but really Avot is masculine. Okay, now plural verbs. So far we covered plural nouns. What about verbs? So we learned that to differentiate masculine verb from feminine verb, we look at the ending. Shamar means he guarded. Shamra with a a and a he at the end means she guarded. For plural, it's a little more complicated. If you want to say not he but they, masculine, you say the ending u. Halach becomes halchu. They walked. Shalach, he sent. Shalhu, they sent. Shamar becomes shamru, they guarded. And zachar, he remembered, becomes zachru, they remembered. And good for us, both feminine and masculine stay the same, just for they. They, feminine, plural, is halchu, shalchu, shamru, zachru, and the same for masculine. They, halchu, shalchu, shamru, zachru. This form is used for both masculine and feminine plural subjects. It is unusual. Usually masculine and feminine are different, but for pronoun they, it is the same. If the subject is plural, the verb must be plural as well. Unlike English, the verb stays the same. I went, she went, they went, we went. In Hebrew, the verb must be the same as the subject. For example, both in gender and in number. For example, haben shamar, the son guarded. Since ben is singular masculine, so shamar is also singular masculine. Habanim shamru, the sons guarded. Banim is plural, so shamru also has to be plural. Habanot shamru, the daughters guarded. Here also, since banot is plural, shamru must also be plural. And now all the nouns that we learned so far on page 43, we have them all in plural as well, together with identification if it's masculine or feminine, and the translation. So whenever a new noun appears in the vocabulary list of each chapter, we will give you the singular and plural forms of the noun from now on. You must learn these forms, because again, it's not so simple to change a noun from singular to plural. You can also find these forms in the glossary at the back of the book. Plurals that are seldom seen in the Bible are not included. Below is a chart of all the nouns you have learned and that have plural forms. Memorize all the forms in this chart. So this chart should be reviewed a few times by every person. So we're on page 43, complete chart of plural nouns. We will go line by line, singular, plural, gender, and the translation. Av, avot, it's masculine, even though it looks feminine, and it means father. Ah, achim, masculine, brother. Ish, anashim, man or people, men. Eretz, aratzot, land, country, or lands, countries, and that is a feminine word. Isha, nashim, feminine means woman or women. Behema, behemot, animal, animals, feminine word. Bayit, batim, this is an unusual word. It's masculine even though it ends with taf, and the plural is masculine as well. House. Ben, banim, son, sons. Bat, banot, daughter, daughters. Davar, devarim, word, things. Word or thing, things or words. Derech, derachim, derech, road, way. Derachim, plural, ways, roads. And again, it may be either plural, masculine or feminine. Har, mountain. Harim, mountains, masculine. Yom, day. Yamim, days. Melech, king. Melachim, kings. Mishpacha, family. Mishpachot, families. Nar, young man. Ne'arim, young men, young people. Na'ara, young woman. Ne'arot, young women. Eved, servant, a slave. Avadim, servants, slaves. Ir, city. Arim, cities. That's a feminine word even though it has a masculine ending in the plural. Am, a people. Amim, nations, peoples. A note on the bottom of page 43, the plural form anashim may be translated as men or people. The plural form of banim may be translated as sons or as children. Again, this is important to remember for learning Tanakh, Chumash, and the Navim and Ktuvim, because sometimes it will say banim and it will mean children. Sometimes it will say banim and it will mean sons specifically. Okay, now we go to page 44. Inseparable prepositions. You have already learned the prepositions el and min. These prepositions, like English prepositions, are separate words. El means to, min means from. They can be written as a separate word. There are three important Hebrew prepositions that are not separate words, but they are attached to the word, and we can call them prefixes. For example, le means to or for. Ke means like or as, and be means in. Sometimes it means with, and sometimes it means on. Again, you have to keep in mind all possible translations so that depending on the context you can translate properly. These prepositions are called inseparable prepositions because they are always attached to the words. Le can be replaced with a separate word el, to, but if it's a single letter, it is an inseparable preposition, a prefix meaning to or for. Okay, now vowels and inseparable prepositions on page 44, the next topic. The inseparable prepositions ordinarily take a shva, like we said, le, ke, be. For example, be mishpacha, in a family or with a family. For example, av b'mishpacha shamar banim, a father in a family guarded sons. Next example, ki melech, like a king or as a king. David shamar batim ki melech, David guarded houses like a king, as a king should. Le Moav, to Moav. Avraham halach le Moav, Abraham went to Moab. Le ach, to a brother, for a brother. Ha'isha halcha le'ach b'Mitzrayim. The woman went to a brother in Egypt. In some circumstances, the inseparable prepositions take other words. What does it mean? Let's see. Kimlachim, not other words, other vowels, sorry. Here, instead of ke melachim, it's kimlachim. Ha'achim halchu kimlachim. The brothers walked as kings. And again, this is something you have to memorize. Not kemlachim, but kimlachim. As kings. And lirushalayim. To Jerusalem. Hem halchu lirushalayim. They went to Jerusalem. And here it's probably because of the yud. It's not le Yerushalayim. Then you would have to pronounce both le and Yerushalayim. By changing the vowel to li, you do not pronounce yud. Not le Yerushalayim, but rather lirushalayim. Just like we learned mirushalayim, so too it's lirushalayim. Hemma halchu lirushalayim. They went to Jerusalem. Now, what if the noun, the subject, is definite? Prepositions ke, be, and le connected with a hey, the definite article. When the prepositions le, ke, and be are attached to a word ha, the following changes take place. So, first of all, the hey is dropped. And any vowel that used to be under hey is transferred to the preposition. And any dagesh that appeared in the first letter following hey is preserved. So, for example, instead of bayit and meaning a house, bevayit means in a house, and the dagesh is omitted, bevayit. But if it is definite, habayit, the house, then with the preposition be, it will turn to babayit. Hey is dropped and replaced by be. The vowel of hey, is preserved and it's placed under be, ba, and the dagesh of bet is preserved as well. So again, bayit, bevayit, habayit, babayit, in the house. Second column, av, a father, le'av, to a father. But if you have definite ha'av, the father, then you have to say la'av. La tells you that it's definite. Le tells you that it's indefinite. Be is indefinite. Ba is definite. Babayit, in the house. La'av, to the father. Remember that a proper noun, a specific person or place, cannot take the definite article the, ha. Therefore it cannot take ba, ka, la, and it will be regular be, ke, le. For example, be Mitzrayim. Since Mitzrayim is a name of a country, it's definite. We do not say ba Mitzrayim, we say be Mitzrayim. Bayit, babayit, a house, the house. That's a normal word, but Mitzrayim is a name of a country. Therefore, we don't say the Egypt, we just say Egypt in English. So too in Hebrew, you don't say ha-Mitzrayim, you just say Mitzrayim. It is already definite. And therefore, since it's already definite, I don't have to indicate that it is definite through a prefix. So the prefix stays singular. Be Mitzrayim. Not singular, but indefinite. Okay, the following sentences all use inseparable prepositions. So let's practice. Habat amda bevayet. The daughter stood in a house. That is why under be is a shva and the next letter loses its dagesh. Habat amda bevayet. In a house. Habat amda babayet. Here, ba tells us that it's definite, and the next dagesh, the next word preserves the dagesh. Babayit. The daughter stood in the house. Habat amda babayit. Next example, Haish avar li'ir. The man crossed over to a city. Le'ir. Haish avar la'ir. The man crossed over to the city. Next example, Malach David kimelech. David ruled as a king. Malach David ka-melech. David ruled as the king. Now we turn to page 46. More about inseparable prepositions, and then we have a lot of exercises. The preposition le is often interchangeable with the preposition el, as we mentioned at the beginning. For example, Haish avar el ha'ir, the man crossed over to a city, or the same thing can be said, Haish avar le'ir. So if you want to save space, you omit aleph and you combine lamed and the next word, le'ir. The preposition le can mean either to or for the sake of. Hu shalach behemot leish. He sent animal to a man. Hu shalach leish. He sent for a man. Hu shalach laish. He sent for the man. Laish, for the man. The preposition be can mean either in, with, or on, and we'll have some examples. Hu malach bi Yerushalayim. He ruled in Jerusalem. Bi, in. Hu avar ba behemot. He crossed over with the animals. And from the context, you figure out that it means with. Hu avar ba behemot. Not he passed in animals or on animals, but he passed with animals. He halcha ba'derech. She walked on the road. In English, you would say on the road, not in the road. In Hebrew, ba can again mean in or on. Okay, we've finished all the rules. Now we can do exercises. Write the plural form of each of the following words and then translate. And to check yourself, you can see the glossary on page 43. Melech, melachim. And again, follow me now, and as your further exercise, write every plural word down. Melech, melachim. Am, amim. Derech, derachim. Nar, ne'arim. Ach, achim. Isha, nashim. Av, avot. Ir, arim. Number 9, har, harim. Davar, devarim. Na'ara, ne'arot. Na'arot. Behema, behemot. Na'ara, ne'arot. Good. 13. Yom, yamim. Bayit, batim. Bat, banot. Ish, anashim. 17. Eved, avadim. Ben, banim. Mishpacha, mishpachot. Eretz, aratzot. Exercise 2. Translate the following plural forms into English. Number 1. Melachim, kings. Ne'arot, young women. Ne'arim, young men. Harim, mountains. Mishpachot, families. Arim, cities. Aratzot, lands. Yamim, days. Number 9. Avadim, slaves. Devarim, words or things. Derachim, paths, ways. Banot, daughters. 13. Behemot, animals. Amim, nations. Nashim, women. Banim, sons or children. Achim, brothers. Batim, houses. Avot, fathers. Anashim, people or men. Exercise 3. Write the following words in Hebrew. This is an important exercise. You have to translate from English to Hebrew and write it down. I will say the translation, but on your own, write every word. Number 1. Brothers. Achim, young men. Ne'arim, young women. Ne'arot, peoples. Amim. Number 5. Sons. Banim, animals. Behemot, fathers. Avot, mountains. Harim. Number 9. Days. Yamim, families. Mishpachot, roads. Derachim, men. Anashim. Number 13. Cities. Arim, houses. Batim, daughters. Banot, words. Devarim. Number 17. Slaves. Avadim, women. Nashim, lands. Aratzot, kings. Melachim. And now we're on page 47, exercise 4. We will do this exercise and we will finish for today. And next week we will finish all the exercises and we will do the oral review and we'll start the next chapter. Okay, page 47, exercise 4. Read and translate the following sentences. Number 1. Ha'av zachar yom b'moav. A father remembered a day in Moab. Ha'avot zachru yom b'moav. The fathers remembered a day in Moab. Ha'isha zachra yom b'vayit. The woman remembered a day in a house. Hanashim zachru yom babatim. The women remembered a day in the house. Number 2. Haben avar derech. The son passed over or crossed a path. Habanim avru derachim. The sons crossed paths, crossed roads. Habanot avru derachim. The daughters crossed paths or roads. Habat avra derachim veharim. The daughter crossed paths and mountains. Number 3. Shalach Avraham na'ara le'ir. Abraham sent a young woman to a city. Shalcha Sarah na'ar la'ir. Sarah sent a young man to the city. Shalhu hema na'ar lirushalayim. They sent a young man to Jerusalem. Shalhu henna ne'arim le'arim. They, feminine, sent young men to cities. Number 4. Amad ha'eved sham v'hu zachar am. The slave stood there and he remembered a nation. Amdu ha'avadim sham v'hem zachru amim. Slaves stood there and they remembered nations. Amdu harim v'ha'anashim avru misham. Mountains stood and the men passed over from there. Amadu he'arim v'ha'anashim halchu lesham. Cities stood and the men walked there, towards there. Number 5. Avraham malach kimelech. Abraham ruled like a king. Avraham malach kamelech. Abraham ruled like the king. Habanim halachu ka'anashim. The sons walked as men. Habanot halchu ka'anashim. The daughters walked like the women. In the previous example, ka'anashim means like the men. And finally, number 6. Hu shama behema ba'aretz. He heard an animal in the land. He sham'a behemot be'eretz. She heard animals in a land. Hem sham'u nashim ba'aratzot. They heard women in the lands. Hena sham'u nashim beharim. They, feminine, heard women in the mountains. With this, we finish today's class. Page 47. Next week we will start from exercise 5 on page 47. Thank you for listening. Hatzlacha, all the best.